Radhe Mataji is going to tell me that we are already
Yeah,
broadcasting.
yeah, we already.
We're already there, right? And it's just more of a confirmation here on what we do. Okay, so where are we on Facebook? You should have been here. And indeed, we are broadcasting. So let's get going here. Thank you so much, dear devotees, for joining us here on Facebook, YouTube, as well as on Zoom on this dark December night, when we could have done so many other things on this Friday, right? Like eating garam samosas, aloo tikki, watching a movie, popcorn, right? We could have done so many things. Or we could have just gone to sleep because it is 9 o'clock in the night on the East Coast, from where Vindhyavali Mataji just joined us.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare
Pranam,
Krishna,
Dhanboli,
Danda
Sushila
pranams.
Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Sukamala
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Sumi Mataji.
Oh, Hare Krishna.
Okay, so now let's get into the class. What were we doing last time? Do we remember?
6.8. So today is 6.9.
Today 6.9. All right, so 500 points. So Kumar Radhe Mataji is rich right at the beginning of the class with points. So now, what did we discuss in 6.8? Do you remember what we were talking about last week? Do you want to go back and look into your notes, into your book, or etc., etc.?
We were talking about the gross and the subtle, actually.
Gross and the subtle, we talk about gross and the subtle every
I know.
What is the essence of last time's verse?
That a person who utilizes everything in the service of Krishna does not see any difference between pebble, stone, and gold.
Right. The main thing was that not being, and then what was the typical characteristic of the man? Gyan Vigyan Trip Atma, right?
Mhm.
And so we talked about that the person does not distinguish between three things, which is pebbles, stones,
Stones are gold.
yeah, and so Lostra, Ashma, Kanchana, right? Kanchana is gold.
Gold.
Lostra was pebbles.
Stone. Oh, pebbles. And
yeah, right, like that. So they were talking about, and then we also talked about Gyan Vigyan Tirthatma, right?
Book knowledge without.
Go ahead, complete the thought, Mataji.
Book knowledge without realization of the supreme truth is useless.
Yeah, but on Gyan and Vigyan.
that's one is acquired knowledge and one is realized knowledge.
Right, and which one is which one?
Jnana is acquired and Vijnana is realized.
Realized knowledge, right? And we had also talked about why it is important to realize the knowledge also and not just keep it in our head. That means basically we have to apply that knowledge, because if just we have got bookish knowledge in our head, it's going to give rise to pride that I have got so much knowledge, and then we will expect others to give adulations for the knowledge that we have in our head, and that won't come. And that won't come, because that can only come when they see you applying that knowledge. That's when they will say, oh, this person is so, right? For example, Krishna tells Arjuna, Matra spashastu kaunteya sitoshun sukha dukkada agam apani madhyastha dveṣya-bandhuṣu bharata. So he says that all these miseries and happiness that they come, they are like the seasons, they come and go. So you learn how to tolerate them. So I recited this verse. This is knowledge, right? So then a person might, hear it, say something good for me, and that's it. Now tomorrow, by that adulation, I go and memorize 2 more verses, and then next time Sukhmal Mataji meets me, I expect her to give me more respect or admiration, and that won't come, right? That will come when she observes me, that if I am in a situation which is a bad situation, that I'm tolerating it and not complaining about that, right? But that is when the real admiration comes. So that particular verse was talking about. And also, it was talking about pebbles, stones, and gold, right? 3 things that they talked about. So you also see that they are 3 things in an increasing order of importance in life, right? I mean, pebble is almost useless. What can you do with pebble, right? Kodi jai, they say, right? In India, in Indian language. Kodi, what is that? Pebble, right? So then a little bigger than pebble is a stone, because you can at least make some good thing out of the stone, right? But then, of course, and then it jumps to the ultimate. From the stone, it is jumping ultimate to the gold, right? Which is always, people talk about the gold standard, gold this, gold that, golden words, golden avatar. So gold is always at the top, right? But in between stones and gold, what are the other things that you think a person could be attached to? Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Mataji, thank you for joining.
Wealth, like money, like not gold, but like wealth, like liquid to spend. They would be attracted to that.
Liquidity, right. Cars, bungalows, food.
Yeah.
So many things that you can be, that you can get attracted to. So if you also see in this gradation going from lower, highest like that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Sikshastakam says, na janam, na dhanam,
Dhanam,
na sundarim. Right?
Right?
Right? So he says, mama janmani janmani ishvare bhavatat bhakti ahetukantoi. So he's starting from janam. The janam basically means that good birth. Janam just means birth. Well, janam is good birth. And first good birth is that you are born as a human being. Right? And then in the human being also, if you're born in a good family. Noble family, right? So if you're in a noble family, then you will automatically get respect and you will be considered to be something and somebody, right? And so your utility to the society is also higher, right? But then if you don't have janam, if you're not coming from an exalted family, but if you acquire wealth, dhanam, right? So if you're a very rich person, like a film star, nobody tries to find out the gotra of a film star. They all are, crazy after the film star. They don't even know from whom they are coming. If you look at some of the film actresses from Indian movies from the past, they had a very dubious background. Very, very dubious, right? They're mostly coming from...
Really? I didn't know.
Yeah. They were dancers and prostitutes, yeah. Some of the very famous film actresses. And but then dhanam comes, right? Dhanam comes and then people forget about the janam. Like you are saying, oh, really? That is what it is, right? So when people are rich, then we tend to forget the other things for that. So if you didn't have janam, but if you have dhanam, then it's okay, fine. It's even more than janam. And then sundarim, right? So you have the sundari. That's what people want. After you have janam and dhanam, then what next want is somebody to enjoy. And a sundari comes. So that's the order in which they're saying that. Now, if we go back to, this was 6.8 that we discussed last week, right? Now, if you go back to 6.7, turn your pages to 6.7 and tell me what was 6.7 talking about.
Jitatmana, that one is the one who has conquered the mind. The Supreme is already reached. He has attained tranquility. Such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same.
Are the same to him, right? So here, what you are showing his reactions to things that come around him. Right? Like just before the class started, I was complaining to Simi Mataji. I was saying, oh, this gets very dark. But to a person who's advanced, doesn't care about that, right? And I was also telling her that, in favor of Krishna consciousness, that ever since I got into service, that now I don't even notice the weather. That, oh, it gets so dark these days. Oh, it is cold these days. It's like, okay, fine. If you're feeling cold, just switch on the heater and that's it. You go back to your work. Like that is seva. So, when you get into Krishna consciousness, this is what happens, right? So, so that this is one, he is same to reacts. His reactions are the same, right? So we are talking about sameness here, right? So his reactions are same to different events that happen in his life, right? And what is the reason that his reactions, this, by the way, is Yoga Rudha stage. Advanced in devotional service, right? He's already on the ladder of yoga, connected to the Lord. So that it is that stage, that stage a person behaves like that. Otherwise, it doesn't. Very little takes me, is needed to get me upset like that. So, but Yogaruda's behavior is very, very different, right? So these three verses, they are talking about Yogaruda. And in the beginning of the chapter, we were talking about, Yogarukshu and then Yogaruda. And then we were talking about what happens in the beginning, he works, right? And then in the advanced stage, he need not work. So he was talking about all those stages Krishna has brought. And now we are really delving on, the higher stages which are there. So in previous one, we talked about what was that? Lostra, Ashma, Anchana, right? So let's look at today's verse and see what is today's verse going to tell us. And let me see whether I have the verse open at all. Yeah, I do. So let me start sharing the screen here with you. Okay. Yeah, okay. So we are going to do verse number 9 today.
9.
And suhṛn-mitrāry-udāsīna madhyastha-dveṣya-bandhuṣu sādhuṣv api ca pāpeṣu sama-buddhir viśiṣyate. Suhṛn-mitrāry-udāsīna madhyastha-dveṣya-bandhuṣu sādhuṣv api ca pāpeṣu sama-buddhir viśiṣyate. Suhṛn-mitrāry-udāsīna madhyastha-dveṣya-bandhuṣu sādhuṣv api ca pāpeṣu sama-buddhir viśiṣyate. Synonyms: su-hṛt. So this became suhṛn over here because the T and the M, when they are next to each other, then the T gets converted into N, right? Like Jagat-nath, right? So that Jagat-nath becomes
Jagannath.
Right, you see? So if there's an M or if there's an N right next to the T, then it gets converted. So su-hṛt means to well-wishers by nature. Okay. Mitra is benefactors with affection. Ari is enemies. Udāsīna, neutrals between belligerents. Madhyastha, mediators between belligerents. What is belligerent?
Someone who is always arguing and always
fighting. Enemies.
Fighting, always has an answer. Yeah.
Right, belligerent, right? And dveṣya, envious. Bandhuṣu, the relatives or well-wishers. Typically, bandhuṣu is relatives. Sādhuṣu, unto the pious. Api, as well. Cha, and pāpeṣu, unto the sinners. Sama-buddhiḥ, having equal intelligence. Viśiṣyate is far advanced. Translation: a person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers. What is well-wishers in Sanskrit?
Suhṛt.
Right? Regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors. What are affectionate benefactors in Sanskrit?
Mitra.
Mitra, correct. And the neutral, what is neutral in Sanskrit?
Udāsīna.
Udāsīna, correct. So 500 points, all of you. Udāsīn is when one is neutral. Mediators. What is a mediator?
Madhyastha.
Madhyastha, right? So madhya and stha, middle, right? Otherwise, one is either right or one is left, either taking part of this party or taking part of side of that party, but this madhyastha is in the middle of both of them, right? So if you also see, Arjuna in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita tells Krishna to take the chariot in the middle of both. Madhyastha. So that's what Krishna did. He took it and put it there. Madhyastha. Right? Dveṣya. Okay. So then affectionate mediators. The envious. So what is envious in Sanskrit? Dveṣya. Okay. And what is friends?
Bandhuṣu. No. Bandhuṣu. relatives, friends, you said?
Wouldn't friends be mitra?
Yes, that's a good point that you bring, right? So there's no 1:1 over there. We know a
Yeah.
friend got a lot of good qualities. A friend is a su-hṛt, right? He's a mitra, like that.
But
Okay, so
Shraddha Mataji, udāsīna, you would think is sad, right? Like, because it comes, udas is sad,
yeah, one
right?
would think like that, yeah. But udasin here means very different.
Okay.
You know what? It's so funny that I learned Hindi pretty much on my own, although I'm come from a Hindi-speaking family, but my mom didn't speak Hindi, so that was there. So when I used to read the word, and you know how it happens with students, right? What do students do? They, at least in my days, they didn't have the facility of Google. That you want to know the meaning of anything, you want to know the meaning of belligerent, you go there.
Dictionary.
Dictionary, yeah, you had to go open a dictionary, and who would get up and open the dictionary, right? There were no air conditioned homes and things like that. You were snuggled inside a blanket, shivering from cold, and then the book is outside. So, come on, ignore it. Who cares if you don't know the word, right? And then you would say, who else would you do? Who was your walking dictionary in the home? Mama, what is the meaning of belligerent? And then Mama will say, open the dictionary. And then you'd go in.
Amma is the dictionary.
Open the dictionary, and then you would open it and, do that. So, so udāsīna, I also thought udāsīna means that they are they're unhappy, right? Or sad, rather, right? Udāsīna is sad. And so I was reading one of my Hindi books, in high school, and the word udasin came, and the person was saying, aap to humse udasin ho gaye. And I was like, why is he saying that person has become sad? From the narration that I'm reading, that person is not sad at all. Why is he saying udasin ho gaye? Much, much later, I came to know udasin means neutral. Like that, yep. So I learned udasin from the scripture. So scriptures are a good source of learning a language. Good point, Mataji. Udasin. So then let us see, we were saying enemies. What is enemy?
Pāpeṣu.
Madhyastha.
Sinners.
Enemy.
Ari.
Oh.
Ari, correct. Okay. And I wanted to, let me see if I remember the verse correctly. I think it is 1343. Let me give it a try. Oh, no. Okay. If I can't find this, then I can't find anything. Okay, let's go and look at chapter 3. Chapter 3, yeah, here. It comes towards the end, maybe 46, something like that. But it's a beautiful verse. I wanted to just, have you all relish this. Okay. Hey. Okay, anyway, I remember the verse, but I don't remember the number. It says, Ete chamsa kala pumshan, Krishnastu Bhagwan Sayam. Google will come, 1328. I was just a few verses off. Okay. Ete chamsa kala pumsa, Krishnastu Bhagwan Swayam, Indrari Vyakulam Lokam, Mridyante Yuge Yuge. Right? So where is the word Ari here?
Indrari.
Indrari, right? And then what is Indrari here? Translated?
Enemies of Indra. So
who would be an enemy of Indra? Who is Indra? He's a devotee of the Lord. And an enemy of Indra would be an enemy of devotees of Lord. So non-devotees. So Indrari means non-devotees. Yeah. Okay. So just a little side track there to just relish some more Bhagavatam. So then, and then what about the ones who are sinners?
That's Pāpeṣu.
Pāpeṣu. Okay. And then what about those who are saints?
Buddhir.
Sādhuṣv. Yeah, sādhuṣv. Sadhu, right? Sadhu means saint. And then if you are equally poised to all of them.
Sama-buddhir.
Sama-buddhir, right? Yeah. And the word used over here is viśiṣyate.
Viśiṣyate.
Yeah, viśiṣyate means far advanced. Okay, far advanced. So, yoga rula. This stage is the yoga rula stage. It's not that anybody can go and do this. All this is very, 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 very difficult, right, to do. So person is considered still further advanced. So the first one was saying that he looks at things in the same manner. So if it's a stone, if it's a pebble, it's a gold, then he just thinks that, you know, all this is material and I'm not going to benefit out of any of this. His thought is like that, right? And these are just things. And however, he doesn't, we also looked at the verse last time, that falgu vairagya, right? Prapanchikatya buddhya hari sambandhi vasunama mokshubhi parityago vairagyam falgu katyate. So if there are things that those person, mokshubhi, those who are seeking liberation, if they give up material objects, which could be utilized in the service of the Lord. So if they do that, then that kind of an renunciation is called as falgu or useless renunciation. When you renounce everything saying this is Maya, this is Maya. A thing becomes Maya only if it is not utilized in the service of the Lord. So if I buy a Lexus or a Tesla and I go around here and there, you know, up and down with my family, stopping at ice cream shops and, you know, shopping and this and that, then yes, definitely that is Maya. But if I buy a Tesla and put Srila Prabhupada in it and go for a Yath Yatra, then the same thing is being utilized in the service of the Lord, right? So, so here, a person is in the yoga ruda stage, right? So he will understand that. He will understand that, you know, okay, as far as I am concerned, to me, a piece of gold as well as a piece of stone are not going to give me any benefit in my spiritual progress, right? And spiritually, I'm not going to progress. However, I might need gold, you know, to buy books to distribute. Right? He understands that he can use it like that, right? Now here in this stage, you know, we have gone one notch higher. And viśiṣyate, you know, we are saying even higher level of yoga ruda, because once you've climbed the ladder of yoga, you could be on any of the rungs there, right? Not necessarily you could be in the lowest rung, you could be in the highest rung, you could be in the middle, right? What was the word for middle that we used here in the Sanskrit today?
Madhyastha.
Madhyastha, correct. Right? So we could be anywhere on the ladder. So here now they're saying is we're gone notch, many, many notches higher. Because why? Because now we are dealing with people. And it is very difficult to handle people. So you will see in offices, at least I know of one person in my office, very brilliant architect, very, very brilliant architect. See, big screen and working behind the computer. No problems working with the computer, right? Only time the computer gives you grief is perhaps when there's a power breakdown or the screen breaks or something like that. So, so once because he was such a brilliant person, there was some reorganization and he was asked to have 14 people report to him. So now human beings are coming into his life. And then out of innocence of purity of his heart, he told one of them, you know what, I really didn't like to take this manager position. And that person, his new subordinate, he went and complained. He said, my manager doesn't like me. He's like that. It became a big thing. So handling machines is much, much easier than handling people, right? And what to talk about the different types of people. There are quite a few types of people that were listed in today's verse, isn't it? Right? What were the types of people? Give me some examples. What were the buckets?
Oh, in today's verse?
In today's verse, yeah. There are different types of people, right? Right?
Yeah.
Well-wishers.
Yes, well-wishers is one.
Neutrals.
Enemies.
Envious people.
Neutrals and then envious.
Right.
Sādhuṣv.
Right. Okay.
Sinners.
So when they are in advanced stage, right? So first and foremost thing is that, you know, remember this is Dhyan Yoga. This chapter is Dhyan Yoga. So this chapter is talking about the mind. Okay. So basically this is saying that how when these people of different qualities or different varieties, they present themselves to us, a person in advanced consciousness, yoga rudha, very advanced person, how does he behave with all of them? Sama, sees them all as equal, right? So first question there is then that who is, if they are able to consider them all as equal, then who is it that first makes that distinction between all of them? What is it that makes someone your enemy or someone your friend? It's our mind that'll keep on presenting these ideas to you. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, you will see in the beginning when Yudhishthir is being described, right? Yudhishthir is being described and he's described as Ajata Shatru. He does not have any enemies. Now this is right after the Mahabharata war is over. The big war is over, 18 Akshauhini Sena from that side, 18 or 13 and 11 from this side or 9, whatever the number was. That's besides the point. But there has been so much of a war. There's a big war that has happened. And now Yudhishthir has conquered all of them and he's sitting on the throne of the world. And we are describing him as Ajat Shatru. How can we say that he's Ajat Shatru? When he has so many enemies, I mean, do we think that all these kings that were conquered, they were completely and truly friends of the Pandavas? No. They were fighting on behalf of the Kauravas. They lost the war. Now a new king has come and he's going to take the tax from them. They are not going to like it. They are not. They were not his friends. Definitely they were not his friends, right? They were his enemies before and they were enemies then. Then actually Kunti Maharani in her prayers to Krishna when he's leaving Hastinapur to go to Dwarka says that. She says that you are leaving Krishna now, but now when all these kings have become our enemies, we need you even more. So don't go. She's doing that prayer to him. So how come we can say that Yudhishthir is a Ajat Shatru? He doesn't have a Shatru. So the difference is that how Yudhishthir Maharaj sees all of them. Yudhishthir Maharaj does not see them as his enemies. It's the other people. The other kings who are seeing Yudhishthir as their enemy. As far as Yudhishthir is concerned, and that is why you will also see sometimes that the teenager girl thinks that her biggest enemy is her mom. Right? Does the mom think that my teenage daughter is my biggest enemy? No. Right? It's so this thing that this one is my friend, this one is my enemy, right? This is something that your mind is planting on you. So Yudhishthir Maharaj, of course, he's a devotee, so his mind is at a very higher level. He doesn't see them as enemies. Jesus Christ, when he was dying, what did he say?
Forgive them for they know not what they do.
What they do, right? Right? Because he sees them with a very different light. Whereas those who were killing him, of course, for them, Jesus Christ was the biggest enemy there, right? So in this chapter on Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 6, when we present these things to you, obviously we see that Yudhishthir had controlled his mind. Don't you think the mind would have presented that this is the enemy, good and bad, look what he did to you, like that. But they have controlled mind. Vijitatma, right? Chitatma, Vijitendriya. We have been hearing all these words in chapter number 6 here, right? So he has conquered his mind. He has learned to deal with his mind. So in our interactions with these varieties of people that are listed in this verse, right? From friends to enemies to neutrals to mediators, right? Pious and sinful, right? All those people. So when we learn, before we can deal with all these people, the first thing we have to do is to learn how to deal with our own mind. Once this mind is conquered, and a conquered mind becomes your best friend, right? And then the conquered mind will tell you, okay, it's okay, that person is speaking like that. Just ignore that person like that. Or look at the person, from the compassionate perspective. So it's very, very important for us to know that this is a yoga rura stage all these things that are being presented to you, like this is my friend, this is my enemy, right, is being done by the mind. And Dhyan Yoga is all about conquering the mind. The easiest thing that we can do by way of conquering the mind is mantra, to bring the mind to a higher level through the help of mantras. And which is the mantra that is recommended for this yoga?
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Ram
Hare
Ram,
Rama,
Ram
Hare
Ram.
Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare, right? So that is one of the things that how you will go and control your mind. Okay, now let's look at, I'm going to bring a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. It's from the first canto, chapter number 7. And I think when COVID started, I think we were reading from this only. Okay, let me go there, find it. Found it here. And we just read through it, okay? So this is after the Mahabharata war is just over, right? Just finished. So when the respective warriors of both camps, namely the Kauravas and the Pandavas, were killed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and the dead warriors obtained their deserved destinations, and when the son of Dhritarashtra fell down lamenting, his spine broken, being beaten by the club of Bhimsena, that basically we're talking about Duryodhana here, the son of Dronacharya, Ashwathama, beheaded the 5 sleeping sons of Draupadi and delivered the heads as a prize to his master, right? So he was very friendly with Dhritarashtra. And as we are going through this narration, right, I want you to keep in mind these items that we are talking about today, right? Su-hṛt, well-wisher; mitra, benefactors with affection; ari, enemies; udāsīna, neutrals; madhyastha, mediators; bandhuṣu, the relatives of well-wishers; sādhuṣu, right? And then pāpeṣu, the sinners, right? So keep thinking about that as I'm reading this, right? Don't overexert yourself that you lose the fun, but just read it, right? So when the son of Dhritarashtra fell down lamenting, his spine broken, being beaten by the club of Bhimsena, the son of Dronacharya, Ashwathama, beheaded the 5 sleeping sons of Draupadi and delivered the heads as a prize to his master, foolishly thinking that he would be pleased. Duryodhana, however, disapproved of the heinous act, and he was not pleased in the least. Draupadi, the mother of the 5 children of Pandavas, after hearing of the massacre of her sons, began to cry in distress with eyes full of tears, trying to pacify her in her great loss. Arjuna spoke to her thus: "O gentle lady, when I present you with the head of that Brahmana, after beheading him with arrows from my Gandiva bow, I shall then wipe the tears from your eyes and pacify you. Then, after burning your sons' bodies, you can take your bath standing on his head." Arjuna, who is guided by the infallible Lord as friend and driver, thus satisfied the dear lady by such statements. Then he dressed in armor and armed himself with furious weapons, and getting into his chariot, he set out to follow Ashwathama, the son of his martial teacher. Ashwathama, the murderer of the princes, seeing from a great distance Arjuna coming at him with great speed, fled in his chariot, panic-stricken, just to save his life, as Brahma fled in fear from Shiva. When the son of Brahmana, Ashwathama, saw that his horses were tired, he considered that there was no alternative for protection outside of his using the ultimate weapon, the Brahmastra nuclear weapon. Since his life was in danger, he touched water in sanctity and concentrated upon the chanting of the hymns for throwing nuclear weapons, although he did not know how to withdraw such weapons. Thereupon, a glaring light spread in all directions. It was so fierce that Arjuna thought his own life in danger, and so he began to address Lord Sri Krishna. Arjuna said, "O my Lord Sri Krishna, you are the almighty personality of Godhead. There is no limit to your different energies. Therefore, only you are competent to instill fearlessness in the hearts of your devotees. Everyone in the flames of material miseries can find the path of liberation in you only. You are the original personality of Godhead who expands himself all over the creations and is transcendental to material energy. You have cast away the effects of the material energy by dint of your spiritual potency. You're always situated in eternal bliss and transcendental knowledge. And yet, though you are beyond the purview of the material energy, you execute the 4 principles of liberation characterized by religion and so on for the ultimate good of the conditioned souls. Thus, you descend as an incarnation to remove the burden of the world and to benefit your friends, especially those who are your exclusive devotees and are constantly wrapped in meditation upon you. O Lord of Lords, how is it that this dangerous effulgence is spreading all around? Where does it come from? I do not understand it. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, know from me that this is the act of the son of Drona. He has thrown the hymns of nuclear energy, Brahmastra, and he does not know how to retract the glare. He has helplessly done this, being afraid of imminent death. O Arjuna, only another Brahmastra can counteract this weapon. Since you are expert in military science, subdue this weapon's glare with the power of your own weapon. Sri Suta Goswami said, hearing this from the personality of Godhead, Arjuna touched water for purification, and after circumambulating Lord Sri Krishna, he cast his Brahmastra weapon to counteract the other one. When the rays of the two Brahmas combined, a great circle of fire, like the disk of the sun, covered all outer space, and the whole firmament of planets. All the population of the 3 worlds was scorched by the combined heat of the weapons. Everyone was reminded of the Samvartaka fire, which takes place at the time of annihilation. Thus, seeing the disturbance of the general populace and the imminent destruction of the planets, Arjuna at once retracted both Brahma's weapons as Lord Sri Krishna desired. Arjuna, his eyes blazing in anger like 2 red balls of copper, dexterously arrested the son of Gautami, another name for Dronacharya, and bound him with ropes like an animal. After binding Ashwathama, Arjuna wanted to take him to the military camp. The personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, looking on with his lotus eye, spoke to Arjuna in an angry mood. Lord Sri Krishna said, O Arjuna, you should not show mercy by releasing this relative of a Brahmana, Brahma-bandhu, for he has killed innocent boys in their sleep. A person who knows the principles of religion does not kill an enemy who is careless, intoxicated, insane, asleep, afraid, or devoid of his chariot. Nor does he kill a boy, a woman, or a foolish creature, or a surrendered soul. A cruel and wretched person who maintains his existence at the cost of others' life deserves to be killed for his own well-being, otherwise he will go down by his own actions. Furthermore, I have personally heard you promise Draupadi that you would bring forth the head of the killer of her sons. This man is an assassin and murderer of your own family members. Not only that, but he has also dissatisfied his master. He is but the burnt remnants of his family. Kill him immediately. Suta Goswami said, although Krishna, who was examining Arjuna in religion, encouraged Arjuna to kill the son of Dronacharya, Arjuna, a great soul, did not like the idea of killing him, although Ashwathama was a heinous murderer of Arjuna's family members. After reaching his own camp, Arjuna, along with his dear friend and charioteer Sri Krishna, entrusted the murderer unto his dear wife, who was lamenting for her murdered sons. Sri Suta Goswami said, Draupadi then saw Ashwathama, who was bound with ropes like an animal and silent for having enacted the most inglorious murder. Due to her female nature and due to her being naturally good and well-behaved, she showed him due respects as a Brahmana. She could not tolerate Ashwathama's being bound by ropes and being a devoted lady. She said, release him, for he is a Brahmana and our spiritual master. It was by Dronacharya's mercy that you learned the military art of throwing arrows and the confidential art of controlling the weapons. He, Dronacharya, is certainly still existing, being represented by his son. His wife Kripi did not undergo a sati with him because she had a son. O most fortunate one who knows the principles of religion, it is not good for you to cause grief to a glorious family members who are always respectable and worshipable. My Lord, do not make the wife of Dronacharya cry like me. I am aggrieved for the death of my sons. She need not cry constantly like me. If the kingly administrative order, being unrestricted in sense control, offends the Brahmana order and enrages them, then the fire of that rage burns up the whole body of the royal family and brings grief upon them all. Sutta Goswami said, O Brahmanas, King Yudhishthira fully supported the statements of the queen, which were in accordance with the principles of religion and were justified, glorious, full of mercy and equity, and without duplicity. Nakul and Sahadev, the younger brothers of king, and also Satyaki, Arjuna, the personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, son of Devaki, and the ladies and all others unanimously agreed with the king. Bhim, however, angrily disagreed with them and recommended killing this culprit, who had murdered sleeping children for no purpose and for neither his nor his master's interest. Chaturbhuja, the four-armed one, or the personality of Godhead, after hearing the words of Bhim, Draupadi, and others, saw the face of his dear friend Arjuna, and he began to speak as if smiling. The personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, said, a friend of a Brahmana is not to be killed, but if he is an aggressor, he must be killed. All these rulings are in the scriptures, and you should act accordingly. You have to fulfill your promise to your wife, and you must also act to the satisfaction of Bhimsena and me. Sutta Goswami said, just then Arjuna could understand the motive of the Lord by his equivocal orders, and thus with his sword he severed both the hair and the jewel from the head of Ashwathama. He, Ashwathama, had already lost his bodily luster due to infanticide, and now, moreover, having lost the jewel from his head, he lost even more strength. Thus he was unbound and driven out of the camp. Cutting the hair from his head, depriving him of his wealth, and driving him from his residence are the prescribed punishments for the relative of a Brahmana. There is no injunction for killing the body. Thereafter, the sons of the Pandu and Draupadi, overwhelmed with grief, performed the proper rituals for the dead bodies of their relatives. Okay, so I'm going to stop over here and let us capture and get some reflections from what we heard in the context of the verse that we are reading today.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
From whatever I heard, so Dhritarashtra, from Pandava's perspective, Dhritarashtra and Ashwatthama, they are enemies, and Arjuna is a friend, Sakha to Krishna, and Krishna is a well-wisher. And Yudhishthira, he acted in a dharmic way, so maybe he is neutral. And Sutta Goswami, who is narrating everything, he's not. He is a devotee, pure devotee. So he is in a pious pious person. That's what I see. Hare Krishna.
Good. And can we go a little bit more in Draupadi's behavior? What do you say about Draupadi's handling the situation?
Even though her sons were killed, she didn't want Arjuna to kill Ashwatthama because his father was their teacher. But it shows a lot of dignity, maybe, that even though she's suffering so much, she doesn't want the killer to be killed.
Right. And there is something very important that she says about Ashwatthama's mother.
Yeah, she should also not be suffering like me.
Right. She should not be suffering like me. I know the pain. And so she's preventing her husband from inflicting a similar pain on the mother, right? So she's looking at it from various perspectives and telling Arjuna not to kill, right? One is that he's your teacher, so don't kill him, right? Second is that killing a Brahmin is going to bring bad fortune for the bad fortune for the family, right? But the most important thing that she's saying is that don't kill because I know the pain and I don't want the mother to undergo the pain, right? Usually what happens in our life, right? I'm undergoing this, so everybody should undergo that pain, right? Why should I do it all alone? You don't understand. I suffered, you also suffered with me. Like that. So that's our attitude. So Draupadi is exhibiting such a high level of, and she's a devotee. Prabhupada mentioned so many times in the verse, right? Is a devotee, right? Bhimsen, considers him as a Ari, right? Kill him, he's the only one, right? Like that. And so let's go back and look at some of the words again from the chapter that we are doing today, which is 6.9, verse that we are doing today, right? So here we are talking about udāsīna, neutrals between belligerents, and madhyastha is mediators between the belligerents, right? So udāsīna is, it doesn't matter to him, right? For example,
Neutral.
yeah, for example, there's a big match was going on, World Cup, Cricket World Cup. I was invited one of these Fridays to come and, witness it. And I was like, I'm not going. I have a Bhagavad Gita, session here. I won't miss it for anything else, like cricket. So, some part of the world were concerned who's going to win, whether it's going to be India or Australia, right? And if you talk to somebody here in America, maybe somebody from American origin, would they be interested in who won?
No.
India or Australia?
No.
Right? That is a udāsīn.
Neutral.
Udāsīn, two people are fighting, and then they don't care. Others are not interested in the result. They don't care if this part wins. They don't care if this side wins, right? Now, in today's verse, and I'm just going to point out how subtly these great exalted personalities speak, like Sukdev Goswami, right? So here, okay, not this one, okay? So let's see here. When we in the beginning itself, yeah. Arjuna, who is guided by the infallible Lord as the friend and driver, thus satisfied the dear lady by such statements, right? So what was the statement? He said that, I'm going to bring the head of Ashwatthama. So Krishna is guiding him from inside, right? Yantarurani Mayaya. We are just like a soul is just like this body is just like a yantra, a machine, which is being guided by Krishna, right? Whatever happens, happens under the... So this Arjuna getting angry, running after Ashwatthama, doing all that kind of stuff, it's actually being guided by Krishna, right? So Krishna does get involved. Let's get involved in all these things, right? He himself might not get affected, but then, when it is his devotees and all that, he gets very, very involved in the situation, in the situation there, right? So there is udāsīn. Krishna is not udāsīn, especially towards his devotees. He's not udāsīn at all, right? So, and if he can't be, of course, he's there in your heart as the Paramatma, right? Always. And if you are a devotee of the Lord, even, the Vishnu Dutas are with you all the time, right? Like, for example, people say that man is dying, the Yamduta, he's seeing Yamdutas appearing. A devotee never sees the Yamdutas. Because devotees, Vishnu Dutas are going to take care of him. We know the story of Ajamila. He was not even thoroughly a proper devotee of the Lord, right? He just chanted the names. Of course, he was a Brahmana originally. He chanted the names innocently throughout his life. In the time of death, again, he said, Narayan, Narayan. And the Vishnu Dutas, they appeared. From where did they appear? They're always with the devotees and they're watching them, right? And that's why in some of the other faiths, you see, they talk about guardian angels, right? And things like that. So the Vishnu Dutas are there as your guardian angel. So Krishna is there in your heart also. So Krishna is not udāsīn. Right? Then there are madhyastha. So madhyastha was the neutral among the belligerents. Like if two parties are fighting, then, like for example, there's a divorce. A husband and wife want to divorce. So there are two ways that they can go for a divorce. They can go to a court, right, and go through that whole process. and be, empty and devoid of all money at the end of it, or they can choose to settle out of the court by going to a mediator. So mediator will be a person who will try to settle this in an amicable manner in a way that benefits both the party, while he is not taking the part of either parties, right? Like if there's a divorce going on between a husband and a wife, then obviously the wife's parents will be on the wife's side, the husband's parents will be on the husband's side, right? And they'll also start fighting, right? Like that. But Udāsīna doesn't do that, right? Udāsīna doesn't care. The judge in the court doesn't care who wins or who not. He's just going by the rules of the law of the land, like that, right? But a mediator, and the judge doesn't care, whether it gets solved or not. He'll just keep on putting dates after dates after dates, right? The mediator is there, okay, fine, the mediator wants a result to come out of that. Udāsīna doesn't care whether the divorce gets settled or not. I don't care. But madhyastha, he has got an agenda, right? He's not attached to either of the two parties, but he wants to attain the end, right? The end result. There should be a settlement. Doesn't matter in this person's place or that person's place, like that, right? So Krishna, although Krishna says that sammoham sarva-bhuteshu name desho-sina priya, I'm equal to everybody, and he is equal to everybody as far as he is doling out the punishments and the rewards, right? Like a parent, if a parent has got two children, one child is naughty, gives grief, other child is, a good, ideal child, takes care of the parents and loving and all that kind of stuff, right? Now, a parent could be neutral in the sense, or Udāsīna in the sense that when it comes to distributing the property, he might distribute the property equally between the two children. Just going by the law of the land, two children, give it half and half, like that he might do, right? But when it comes to his love and affection, right, he might love the better, well-behaved child more than he might love the other child, like that, right? Or conversely, sometimes the opposite also happens. The mother sometimes loves the runt in the litter, the child who is really, the weak, and like that they might do it. So there's always a little leaning towards one side or the other side, right? But a mediator stays absolutely in the middle, right? He's neither on this party's side, he's neither on that part. So no swaying. He's in the middle, right? So Krishna, in the battlefield of Mahabharata, Krishna was what? Did he act as a mediator?
No.
And if no, then why no? And if yes, then why yes?
I mean, he tried, but then he was leaning on the Pandavas.
And how did he try?
By giving the opportunity for Duryodhana to talk, and giving the opportunity to choose the Sena.
Right? He went there as a mediator, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There isn't, right? He went there as a mediator and tried to have Sandhi, but then Duryodhana did not agree, right? Because they considered the Pandavas to be his absolute enemy, right? So he's like, these are my enemies. I don't want. su-hṛt be like, I won't give them land even at the tip of a needle. I won't even give them that much of land. So that much of enmity and the feeling of that Pandavas are my Ari is that, right? So you see in the case of Duryodhana, that feeling is there. Bhimsen, when everybody is going around and saying, what should we do with this Ashwathama, right? Bhimsen clearly considers Ashwathama to be the enemy, that is, he should kill him. And he could also be looking at it purely from the Shastric perspective that, tit for tat, whatever you have done, good or bad, then you just, do it. You deserve the similar reaction to that law of karmic reactions, right? The black and white, but real life has got so many shades of gray and so many shades of white, like that. So then, okay, so this was about Ashwathama. We heard about enemies in this narration. We also heard about how, Krishna was not neutral. Krishna was having fun with his friend Arjuna. posing difficult questions for Arjuna, and then, saying, Arjuna, however this, Arjuna, however that, and equivocal statements, which basically means two contradictory statements you give, and then confuse Arjuna, as if Arjuna was not confused enough while he was listening to the Bhagavad Gita, the equivocal statements there. And now he continues after Mahabharata is over. He's continuing to do, but that is Krishna. He's crooked like that. So you also see so many nuances to Krishna's behavior in this particular narration, right? So when it comes to the fact that we are saying that we should all be sammohan, we should all be looking at everybody in the same manner, and whether he's a friend, whether he's an enemy, whether he's a neutral person. So how can I do that? How can I do that and not be envious? Because it's envy that really drives a lot of these relationships, right? Usually our enemy, one of the reasons I consider somebody as my enemy could be envy. Not necessarily that, but could be, right? So I'm considering all these people to be my, either as my enemy or as my friend, right? So there's something that is going on in my head, right? So how can I control that? How can I not think badly about these people?
An equal mind.
Exactly, right? But the thing is, how can I do that, right? How will I do that thing? How will I control my mind? It has mantra is fine, that always work, but then mind is a very big enemy, and we have to attack it from various different angles that we have, various angles that we can choose to kill this, very, very formidable enemy that we have, right? So a sadhu is para dukha dukhi and para sukha sukhi, right? Now we might say, I am also sadhu, I am para dukha dukhi. When something bad is happening, floods came in Indonesia, or volcano erupted in Greece and people died, and I'm feeling so sad about it, I am a sadhu. Yes, you are. But the real test is para sukha sukhi. That is the problem that we have. Para sukha sukhi is when others are flourishing, when others are happy, others are getting something that you really wanted, then how happy are you for them? Right? Here in the case of Draupadi, we saw the stark opposite thing that Draupadi was talking about. She was understanding not from the happiness perspective, she was understanding from the pain perspective. I am going through the pain of having lost, Draupadi thought, my 5 sons. What will happen to, to Dronacharya's wife, right? So, but then that is what is envy, right? When you want something and you don't get it, when somebody else has it, right? So envy is when somebody has something that you think you deserve. And then what we want to do now is we go back, and I'm not saying you guys sitting here, I'm talking about world in general. We will bend over backwards to make sure that person loses that thing, right? From little kid, do you think little children are envious?
Yeah.
Yes. yeah.
Without realizing it, but they are.
They are. And can you give me an example of how they will be envious?
If someone else has something that they want, which
Like
is
what?
very common, like any toy or doll or
Toys, exactly.
anything. Yeah.
Exactly, like toys, right? And then, also something which comes is that they start criticizing, right? And Vaishnav Kapoor gives such a nice example of, not, so envy is the inability to tolerate the imminence of others. That's enemy, and that is envy, right? So he gives such a nice example of, there's a college reunion, right? These days it's easy to have reunions on Zoom calls and all that kind of stuff, right? And so everybody's getting together, and then they're saying, hey, you know that Dilip? Yeah, Dilip, he was always a backbencher. He got such poor grades. Yeah, you know what? He's a judge now. A judge? I can't believe it. Judge? Yes, he's the judge of the Supreme Court. Blah, 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 blah. And then you say, yeah, but I'm sure that he's not being paid. Inability to tolerate the eminence of others this is what envy is. And it leads to criticism. We start criticizing others because the mind is working, right? I deserve this. How come somebody else has it? I want to take it out. I don't know how to do it, but let me spread the bad word about him. They are so wealthy. Oh, he must have embezzled the money. Oh, he's so wealthy, he must not be paying taxes. So on and so forth. The mind will keep on telling all these things. That's why I said, in dealing with all these people that you consider as your enemies, first we should learn to deal with our mind. And as long as the mind is connected to the material, there is no way you'll be able to deal with it. The only way to control this mind is to connect it with the divine, right? And when you start connecting the mind with the divine, how do you connect the mind with the divine? Is to do exactly what you're doing. Come, listen to Krishna Katha, go read, you chant, do some seva for Krishna. That way you are constantly being connected with the divine. And just like an iron rod behaves like a fire when it's connected to fire for a long time, similarly, your mind, when it is connected to the divine, will behave like transcendental mind and will give you good ideas and better ideas. Up until that doesn't happen, the mind is constantly going to be a naughty person to handle and will constantly be deviating you from your path. So when you go and take part in these spiritual activities of the Lord, and like reading the scriptures, so you read Srimad Bhagavad Gita 15.7. What is 15.7? It starts with M. Yeah, so Mame Vansho Jivaloke. So Krishna has clearly said that Mame Vansh, they are my parts, right? So when you start looking at all these people, Aris, your friends, your enemies, your bandhus, right? When you start looking at all of them, that they are parts and parcel of Krishna. Well, it's easy to understand that, oh, I am a part of Krishna. My daughter is also part of Krishna. My husband is also part of Krishna. My son-in-law is also part of Krishna. My grandchildren are part of Krishna. It's very easy to think like that, right? The difficulty comes when it is like, oh, this one is my enemy and he is also a part of Krishna. That is the difficult thing to handle, right? And that is where we need all the support of devotee association, scriptural reading, residing in the Dham, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, and so on and so forth. Because then we hear about these stories, like people like Draupadi, who were at the extreme spectrum. On the spectrum, they were on the extreme on compassion, right? To forgive the person who has killed her own sons, and not one, not two, not three, not four, 5. And what were they doing? Poor children, they were sleeping. It's not even that they were killed in a war, fighting, they died like that, not even like that, right? So when you connect and when you see these, then you will stop criticizing them. Now, as you progress in devotional service and in your practice of sadhana bhakti, by consciously taking these kinds of things into consideration and acting upon them, you might reach a stage and you say, for example, close your eyes and think for a minute, right? And I'll start this timer. I'll think for a minute and tell me, you don't have to tell me, just think about it. I want you to go through the exercise. What are the times that you have criticized, right? Just think in your mind. And it could be, we criticize the government, we criticize this, we criticize that. All that is okay, and all that can be counted. I'm just going to put the timer here for a minute, and we'll just take it from there. Okay, the timer starts now. Close your eyes. Think about any criticism that you have done in the past 5 years. Okay, so that was 1 minute. You don't have to tell me what you thought. You don't have to tell me the counts, but that count is for ourselves to know and to be constantly doing these kinds of introspection to see, what's going on in our life. So it starts with, criticism can start with a very simple and an innocent activity. Like, I remember when I was growing up and there would be a novel. And one of the activities that we had to do was to criticize the novel. I'm a critique. I'm a cinema critique. I'm a restaurant critique. I criticize, right? But if you do it over and over again, it becomes your habit, right? And then you read Srimad Bhagavatam and you say, oh, like this Krishna, well, I've heard that I should not criticize, right? Samoham sama-buddhir, everybody is Krishna's children, so I will not criticize. Very nice. I don't criticize anybody. It's Karthik. I don't criticize anybody. But then I see such and such a person criticizing, right? And I turn to my friend and say, look at them, how much they criticize.
That's you criticizing.
There you go. Right. So it is very, very subtle. It's a very, very subtle thing that it will come, right? But if you go and you connect and you see, and then again, when it comes to friends, right? Su-hṛt, right? What was su-hṛt translated in today's class? What was su-hṛt?
Well-wisher.
Okay. Well-wisher. Well-wisher is somebody who wishes well for you, right? Okay. So let's go to Ramayana. So there was this servant. She was such a well-wisher of her mistress.
Mm-hmm.
Who was that? Ramayana. A servant.
Mantra.
Manthara, exactly, right?
Manthara.
She's a well-wisher.
Right.
The moment she hears that Ramchandra is going to be made the king, right? Then she goes and talks to Keikei. And she says that, you really have the right because it's the king loves you the most, so your son should become the king, right? And what's going to happen after that, right? Kaushalya will become Rajmata. You will be known Mata. You will be the servant. Kaushalya is going to make you the servant. It used to happen, right? And so, not that Kaushalya would do it, because they are incarnations, but in general, when the king had many wives, this is what used to happen. And so she's doing all that. So on the surface, it might appear that Suhṛt thinks about the best of her mistress. What's wrong about that, right? Except for we don't know what's going on inside her mind. Inside her mind, she's just thinking, what's going to happen to me? Right? Now she is the favorite of the king, and I am her prime servant because she came with her as dowry in the marriage, right? And she'd taken care of her when she was a very small child, and Kaushalya, Keikei had special affection for this, although she was hunchbacked and all that, but she took really care of her, so she loved her nurse. But the others used to tease her for being a hunchback. But when Keikei became the favorite of the king, others were scared, like, found this king, and king's favorite queen is as good as the king, and then the queen's servant is as good as the queen, as good as the king. So we better stay, away because they are powers. So they stopped criticizing her or making fun of her. So then she got scared that, the moment Ram becomes the king, and I will not enjoy whatever I'm enjoying over here. So sometimes people might appear as su-hṛt, but they are not, because they have ulterior motives in their mind. So they are not mediators. They are not udāsīna. They are satisfiers. They are enjoyers, not satisfiers. They are enjoyers. Right? And what appeared to be like a very good advice that she gave to the queen, was it really good advice? It ultimately led to the queen becoming a widow and losing her husband, right? And her own son, Bharat, turned against the mother like that, right? So when we talk about suhṛt and somebody who's really caring for you with a very, very open heart, those kind of people are sudurlabha. They're difficult to find. Usually people have got some motive in that, here or there, right? And one of the things, and I'll close this topic here with that, is that Manthara, the name Manthara, right, has the word man in it, right? And so she's depicting how, Words and suggestions and conversations can completely change the mind from one direction to the other. Ramchandra was Keikai's favorite. She used to love Ramchandra more than she loved her own son, Bharat. And then she goes and says 14 years of exile. Like that, right? So on that note, this is Roga Yuda stage. Highly qualified, highly advanced devotees are at that stage, but that doesn't mean that we can't reach that stage. We are practicing, we are working towards it, and by the blessings of the Parampara, blessings of Lord Krishna, we will all also reach there. Okay, so having said that, we are 15 minutes past the hour, 10:15 for Vindhyavali Mataji. So we'll stop here. And before you leave, just any one word, anything, any concept that you learned here today that you're carrying away, let me know. And thank you for those who are joining us here on Facebook. 6.9. What we did today.
I guess it didn't have a purport because the translation only explains it, but everything.
There you go. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, wonderful session, and how to see everybody equal and how to treat everybody equal. That's amazing. That I started learning only in Krishna consciousness and trying to implement a little by little, and associating with all devotees and attending classes like this with more inputs from. And I haven't heard the example of Yudhishthira. That was very mind blowing actually. How Yudhishthira saw everybody equal even after he got the kingdom. That was amazing. And the story that you read, the part from Bhagavatam, and asked us to check which character map to which thing, that is amazing. So this translation, as Mataji said, it doesn't have a purport, but that itself is a big one. It can go for days, I think. If we discuss. So wonderful.
Yeah. Yes, and it's a difficult thing. To do what is being asked is a difficult thing, but it's okay. It's okay if you're doing something and we fall and we stop. It's not about falling down. It's about how quickly you get back up and forget about the falling down. Because even when we fall down, Krishna catches us. Who else can catch us? Bhume uskalita padanam, bhume reva valambanam, vaijata paradhanam. Right? So even if I slip in devotional service, Krishna will catch us and bring us back. So Krishna is the real suhṛt. And we did that in 5.29. Bhoktaram yagyatapasham sarva loka maheshwaram suhṛt sarva bhutanam. Suhṛt sarva bhutanam, right? So suhṛt means real benefactor, really cares for you. And so when we have gyatva mam shantim richati, and if you understand that, gyatva, agar pata chal gaya, gyatva mam shantim richati. So if you understand that I am that, then you will get peace. And peace basically means that doesn't matter what's happening to me. Satamana, apamana, yo-yo, shitoshna, doesn't matter. Because you see Krishna's hand in it, and even if things are going against you in life, no matter how hard things are getting for you in life, right? When you try to see Krishna's hand in it, then it becomes easy for us to handle that, right? When the whole world seems to be going against us, our destiny seems to be going against us, things are happening which I didn't even imagine in my remotest thoughts that this is going to happen to me, right? At that time, it becomes very difficult to handle it. But if we repose our faith in the fact that whatever this is Krishna's plan, there is something good for me in it, then it becomes easier to handle that situation. And every situation will end. Agam, apanyo, anityas, they come and they go, like seasons. Like that. So when we keep that thing in mind, that Krishna is a benefactor, whatever he's doing is good for me, then also to remember that Krishna will also be doing good for others, right? So when somebody has got something which I really wanted, I wanted to play a guitar, and somebody else is playing a beautiful guitar, then instead of being envious, we will just say, okay, number one, Krishna wanted that person to become a fantastic, player, harmonium, mridangam, whatever, number one. And number two, they have worked hard for it. And the fact that they got it means that they deserved it. Nobody undeserving gets anything in the realm of Krishna. In the kingdom of Krishna, everybody gets what they deserve. We might not have the eyes to see that justice being meted out, but it does get them there. So, on that happy note that Krishna is our friend, should we take leave here? May I take your leave? What do you say?
If you say no.
Okay. All righty. Take care, everybody. Thank you so much for joining the call. Those of us here watching us on Facebook, as well as those here on Zoom. Have a fantastic weekend.
Sorry, Mataji. Last week I couldn't come. Actually, I was out of station. So, is there any link that you can share, Mataji?
Yeah. Facebook. Do you have link to my Facebook page, Mataji? No.
No, Mataji.
Okay.
I'll make a request.
All right. Do you have a few minutes after this call, Mataji?
Sure, Mataji.
Actually, Mataji, I'll just call you. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Shraddha Mataji.
Kripa sindhuvye patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hari
Hari bol. Hari bol.